No fame, just a fortune.
The law, and there is one Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, from time to time, may designate an inferior court with delegated authority to act on the sovereign powers of the United States to execute law relative to the citizens. Without that delegated authority, they are unlawful. They're a fraud. Being that they have no jurisdiction anyway, however, they trick you into giving them jurisdiction. Starting with you waiving your rights, not knowing that they're illegal. And not commanding that they uphold their obligation to the Constitution. And the other violation is by you claiming to be Negro, black, and colored and using their name, which gives them the jurisdiction anyway, no matter what the court. Then you have a right to constitutional law. And even though you're still using the European's name, you're still within governmental fold. Now you can still hold him to his obligation. Okay. Yeah, because you're not arguing sovereignty right now. You're just arguing his obligation. You have standing at law. You have standing at law. You got an eel? You got standing at law. Now, but what you want to do is qualify for the record. And you want to hold him to his obligation contractually. Now you want to ask them to present into evidence whatever contractor's issues are before the court. Without a contract, there ain't no law, not on his part. Listen to this, Moors, and those who got pens, write this down. A ticket is a suit. And traffic court is listed under criminal court. But traffic is a civil matter. It starts off with a violation. And since it's listed as a criminal matter, you have a right to trial by jury. Now, when they gave you that ticket and you go into a courtroom, did somebody present you before you entered in that courtroom with indictment papers? Well, if you don't have indictment papers, that ticket is not prosecutable. Are you following me? Because it's a suit. And so if it's a suit, someone's claiming a reclamation of right against you for a violation of contract. And so if you violated a contract, then you must be indicted. Do they give you indictment papers when they give you tickets? Oh. Did you ever see a jury when you go to traffic court? Then that's a fraudulent court. Are you clear on that? So if you go into court for a ticket, since a ticket is a suit, you have a right to contest the suit. And don't call it a ticket. Call it a suit for the record. Say, for the record, your corporation has instituted a suit against me in the name of ticket Vibo Fetcher 135-1 Municipal Court guys here. And then you say, well, who's here suing me? The injured party, present yourself for the record, because I don't know, I ain't injured nobody. The ticket or summons is really hiding its purpose, its meaning, its function. Its function is you're being sued by an artificial corporation for driving in an artificial corporation, not on the land. This is the corporate state. 1944. Somebody, let's start a corporation, Sears and Roebuck, 1944. You're driving in Sears and Roebuck, and we're going to charge you with parking in Sears and Roebuck. And of course, you $5.50 in course of court. And you say, oh man, I only got one job. Says, can you loan me $5? And wait a minute, Judge, excuse me. And well, you got $5. And we start agreeing to that. You don't agree to that. Excuse me. Excuse me. Now, let me see. State of New Jersey was established in 1944. This land was always here. So they ain't the land. It's a private corporation. Now, can a private and artificial corporation be injured? Can Santa Claus, did you cut Santa Claus? Oh, girl, sis, you in trouble. You hooked Santa Claus? You know how many millions of dollars are spent for Santa Claus every year? Oh, you really in trouble. And you take that serious, you just waived your rights. Do you understand? That's exactly what they do when they give you a ticket. They accused you of injuring an artificial corporation that was created in 1944 by European corporate heads that you are no part of anyhow, and said you was traveling through their papers. This is two things. I suggest that you study. But if you talk about rescinding it, what you can do is you take that and you make a copy of it, right? And then you send in a document to the courtroom rescinding any benefit from their private law paper corporation. And always declare yourself the natural person, i.e., you can write on there, because usually they'll send you some kind of correspondence. And when you get that correspondence, you'll see written in all capital letters to the corporation that they're writing to. It's just that the corporate name sounds phonetically like your name, but it's actually a private corporation. Now, how you respond to that, whether you claim it as mine, like we're saying mine, if you claim it as yours, then you claim it to be a corporation, now you're obligated. You can actually send it back to them, but I suggest because they deal with color law, because they're organized criminals. So you always respond to them with legal processes. So I suggest if you're willing to go that way, that you write to them rescission to that, and that you reserve all your rights as a natural person, and that the judge and the courts are bound to uphold the Constitution and not some foreign jurisdiction. However, if there is an obligation or some criminal act that took place, I'm waiting for my indictment papers, which I have not received yet, for whatever claims may be made by some persons claiming being party to the matter. And after 10 days, if I don't receive them, I'll consider this null and void, as you should too, etc., and put that in the mail and certified. And then if they act on it, now you can sue them. But try to keep things in paper. Limit your conversations with them. But understand that a traffic ticket is a suit. And due to the fact that it's a suit and they're claiming or threatening your liberties and specific performance on your part and finance from you, then you have a right to a trial by jury, anything over $20. So demand it. And then ask them, say, if you proceed with this matter, I do not waive my rights at any time under any conditions, and command the judge of this court at all times to uphold his or her constitutional obligation, i.e., whatever, forward you a copy of the oath, all that stuff. For the record. For the record. You understand what I'm saying? And I preserve all my rights, and I command that you preserve my rights and protect me from any callable procedures. And anything to the contrary, you will be held responsible as an individual to your subordinates, means they're all officers of the courts. Now, what you're doing is you're setting them up for suits by writing like this. And it does not really have to be deep and long, just holding to the principles. And if they proceed against you and cause injury, sue them and put liens on them. And any time that they hold you up, if they hold you, write them a bill for your time, the same way the Bar Association does. And if they don't pay it, you put a lien against them and sue them. I'm serious. Just like they do to you. And start coursing them every time they mess with you. And make arbitrary bills just like they do. Because their rights as a private corporation do not supersede the rights of the people. And under color of law, they're denying you due process. Therefore, those tickets are still not prosecutable. And for them to proceed on them is a deliberate tort on their part. Under color of law, Title 18, United States law. When you go to the law library, look up Title 18. They'll try to trick you with Title 42 because they deal with a lot of colorable things under Title 42, but that comes on the 14th Amendment person. So be careful how you deal with that. You understand what I'm saying? So when you go to court for a ticket, understand that they're suing you and command due process. But Moors know it and don't say it. And say, oh, I want to copy the transcripts. Oh, traffic court don't have transcripts. Oh, so you're denying due process. Oh, y'all really trying to hurt me here. I mean, do you see how? What I'm saying to you, I'm revealing concepts. If you understand concepts, you understand the law. It's really simple. You must understand what birthright is. What I'm talking is birthright. Governments are in place to preserve your birthrights, not to abridge them. They don't give them. They preserve them. And when they don't, they're criminals. Well, you know, the statute says that this, that, so, oh. Which section of the Constitution is that in? Would you take your oath on something else that I don't know about? Because I don't see that part in the Constitution. Because all other rights revert back to the people. And I reserve mine, so you're just coming up with stuff that I ain't never heard of this stuff. You get the point? Then he gets pissed. See, but you got to know what you're doing. Simply know the Constitution. That's why Drew Ali say enforce the Constitution, because that's how they're bridging you. By getting you on subject matters that have nothing to do with where they have any jurisdictional authority whatsoever. What is it that our people don't know? The truth about their nationality and their birthrights. Therefore, they don't recognize the relationship of due process of law. Now, can Negroes, blacks, coloreds, or whites be citizens of any nation? Is there any white nation on the planet? Any black nation on the planet? Any colored nation on the planet? Colordinia, Negro-Otia, doesn't exist. So see, the deal is, when you recognize what you have on your nationality card, what you must remember that from a law position, in order for someone to have a legitimate and movable issue with you at law, they must present themselves too. What we start doing, well, you're not supposed to do this because no. Who are you? I'm really confused. For the record, I know you look Irish. Are you Irish? No, I'm American. Oh, Argentinian. No, I'm from here. Oh, Mexico. You see, they want to play with you, you play with them. But do it intelligently. In other words, make them identify the jurisdiction that they're claiming authority in before you allow them to proceed with you in any matter. If you do allow them to proceed without identifying the political jurisdiction to which they are lawfully attached and have delegation of authority order to operate in, then you've just waived your rights. All right, we clear on that? So from your protocols of liberty, when you're dealing with these aliens, you forget those processes in principle, and guess what they're getting ready to do? There you go. And they will go to the Poconos this summer. And they always do it. And we keep feeding it. How many of our people have died in wars?
Thousands, hundreds of thousands.
How many people are in war now, fighting to keep this European in power?
Millions of them, a whole bunch of them.
Now show me the Asiatic from any other part of the world that lynched us.
Say it again.
Show me in evidence, enter into evidence in our conversation, the Asiatic from any of the countries that these Asiatics been going to that's lynched us or stood before the school to block our children from school or blew up some churches or mosques or some synagogues
I don't know none of them.
or hung us or dragged us down the street or tried to beat us to China.
I don't know none of them.
Now, so if a person does not have the courage to stand up for the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, to which these people took an oath and are bound, and you're not willing to stand up for it, then you don't deserve to be free. It needs to be said to them. This is the key. The key is that people who know, who have this information, need to present these arguments publicly so that people can take these things into consideration and consider their affairs. because reflection is the business of man.
That's right.
It is their responsibility. And if you have this knowledge and don't give that to them to reflect upon, they get caught in their emotionalisms and are subject to the Christian black codes, which is what the problem is.
Right.
Is that have not been presented with a logical argument. Drew Ali brought the logical argument. But it's for those who know law. This is what you do. In an intelligent tone, if you know the truth about your nationality and birthrights, when you go before the tribunal, you say what? For the record. And you put it on the record. You don't sit and try to say, well, you know what's right and you've got to, don't go there. You make all processes that they process you in under color, you make it de jure, no matter what they do. Meaning that they can say anything they want to say. You declare your nationality. They can say anything. The declaration of your nationality is not just saying, I am Moorish American. The declaration of your nationality is the enforcement of this Constitution in all aspects relative to the preservation of inalienable rights which are written into that Republican form of government, no matter what they do. So they can sit up there with cannons, and you stand for the truth. Don't confuse our inactivity and them taking advantage of our inactivity with them doing stuff to us that has power. They're not really the same. Abandonment and the relinquishment of power that's activated is not them having power that's superior to what is right or what is law. It is more our abandonment. And one of the deals is that the people don't understand recourse and remedy as principle. And they're not taught these things because they're not taught national principles. But once they understand national principles, they'll understand these processes that are taking place. They'll recognize immediately when they're violated. And they will say, ups, objection. And just say, well, wait a minute, we got to deal, up. Objection. Yeah, but you know, we really... And if we don't object, they keep proceeding. And we must have the courage to stand up for the nationality and birthright. And some people are not worthy, so some people ain't going to stand for the truth. But you must teach it to the children. Give them a chance. You say, Judge Bas Notzeldorf? Oh. Can you say that again for the record? Because that was very impactful. Let me see, if I mention the Constitution, for the record, witnesses, if I mention the Constitution in this courtroom, you're going to lock me up. What did the Supreme Court say relative to any court that supersedes its jurisdiction? What have I been saying from day one for the last 20 years for Moors to do? Class action suits. Knowing that they're not going to do it if they lack knowledge, which is why we put information out. Because without knowledge, they're not going to do anything. But with knowledge, they begin to recognize there is remedy. But then if they don't have the courage to use it, we're fighting as individuals. And they'll use Negro money to fight you forever. So if you don't go help redeem your people, what are they successfully doing? Using you against each other? So what do? So we got work to do. That's all. We don't need to get mad, to get active. We're paying the price for not carrying out the prophet's instruction. We're paying the price for leaving this movement conceptually as some kind of religious ritualism, which it never was. This is a divine and national movement for the protections of your birthrights and to teach you those principles necessary to make you better citizens and to enforce the Constitution of this said government right now. Now, so we're here to start doing what? Correcting our violations against ourselves. And we're doing it with what? Knowledge, not emotionalisms. Therefore, the Moors must begin to understand processes of how these things are done in order for them to counter them. You can't go on emotionalism. You got to understand what they're doing so that you can understand what you are to do with what you already have that you didn't know you even had, i.e. that power of that nationality card. Introducing the evidence, mine for yours, like you said. Judge starts saying, well, I'm the judge, Vivo Fetcher of the court of common stuff. Oh, yeah? Introducing into evidence, proof, positive. Because I think you're really trying to hurt me. You're trying to take my lunch money. For real. So since you have an obligation to preserve my rights, I command that you enter into evidence that that's what you're doing. Well, you know, you got to talk to the prosecutor. Well, why was you prosecuting from the bench? You was the ones attacking me. Scared of you. You understand? Once your concepts are right, you start putting things in order. And remember, you're not asking them to do anything. They're already obligated. The problem is that you didn't know it because we're busy thinking about beliefs. This man don't care whether you're Muslim, Christian, or Jew. He's dealing with processes under law, and either you're in the law or you're out of it. Deal is they've been out of it because you've been out of it. And they only getting away with being out of it because you're out of order. We're so busy trying to be somebody we're not that they're governing under somebody that we're not. And they made rules to deal with it. You see where I'm coming from? So we must conceptually understand that they're dealing with foreign law because we're allowing ourselves to be listed as foreigners. Negro, black, and colored are not a part of any government, period. And so you have a whole body of people that are transacting business, buying and selling in alien names, which makes them fraudulent or colored in the first place from a legal perspective, not from a belief perspective. We take up space, we make babies, don't we? Some got to govern them. You can't govern them with true law because they ain't true people. I mean, you see how serious that matter is? So are they going to teach you or are they going to recognize that you're an economic opportunity in base? You see what I'm trying to say? And so they make up commercial regulations and codes to deal with the commercialized people, i.e. colored people. Ignorant people think colored people is a complexion. Those who know law know that colored people is a status of artificiality. This was supposed to be resolved generations ago. But no one challenged the sellouts. They just talked about them. So if you know the truth about your nationality and birthright, you also know the truth about his. You see? So if you know yourself, you can know others. And if you doubt it, all you got to use the science of your Circle 7 and study yourselves. Now you already know that he already knows the date that you came out your mother's womb, and he's going to approach you on a down cycle when he called you to court anyway. So since you know that, you're going to prepare yourself to counter them, aren't you? So this is really all it is studying. Study yourself and study them. And start dealing with them accordingly, intelligently. I.e. governing yourselves. Putting your house in order. He's dealing with it. That's why he got you under the thumb. We ain't been dealing with it. That's why he got us under the thumb. We sitting around dealing with emotionalisms and beliefs, and they dealing with science. Your science. Traded places with you. And that's basically all they've done. And if we would break that stuff down, every bit of it, break it down to common denominators, logistically, and then put it back together and understand that it has a function. It's not something for you to repeat because it sounds good. It has a function in society, an effective function. And don't apply it and suffer the consequences. Most people don't even know the driver's license applied to the people is a war tool. It's a contract that they trick you into cooperating with. And then under law, they will tell you it's not a contract, and it absolutely is. And they sue you for breaching it. But they never present the breach. They'll present a violation of a code, of a driver's code, section this, section that. without due process. And what you should command, I ain't even arguing. You don't even argue the substance. Ask them to introduce into evidence the injured party. You want to face the injured party, prove the injury, prove that they have authority, prove that they're citizens of the United States, and you don't want to say nothing. Enter it into evidence. Because right now you look like a foreign European. I think you're French. Let me see that name. And remember, and whenever you're dealing with courts, always do the research on whatever judges there are and look up their family name, trace it to their nation, and then bring that constitution to the courtroom. As soon as they start talking, aren't you Irish? Let's see, Judge Wiskowski-Dorf. You German, French, or what? Oh, I have a German constitution here. How did you gain authority in the United States Republic? Oh, this is a democracy. Oh, apparently I'm in the wrong court. I mean, you see how simple that is? Motor vehicle is not a part of a branch of any of the branches of government. Motor vehicle is a private corporation that uses intimidation. They're organized criminals, faking as government, that say that you need something, and they have a franchise from the corporate state to do those activities so that you don't go directly to them for practicing slavery. It's actually a traveling passport. And what they do is tell you that you need to do this at law. And then when you make the contract, they use the contract as liens against you from day one. What they do is steal your right of travel on the land, transfer it into travel on paper, and then charge you with violation traveling on paper as if they have authority of you traveling on the land, which they have no authority whatsoever. What they really have is you waiving your rights, giving it to them as a private corporation to sell your rights to you as a corporate entity. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, answer this question. What does the word license mean? Privilege. Exactly.
It's a privilege permit. Now, you must understand again what a license is. A license is a privilege permit for transference and transference of goods from one place to another. Manufactured goods, goods of manufacturer, dealing with the privilege of corporate activity. Are we clear? That's what a license is. And mainly for imported goods that come into the post of a prince or the port of a prince. That is what it is. It is not other than that. When you start adding other than that, you are false and they're false. And what they've done is they listed you as Negroes, blacks, and colors as corporations and list you as foreigners. And that your working is a corporate activity for capital gains. And under capital gains profit, it comes under Excise Tax Act of corporate return profitability. And so any wage, any labors that you execute is listed as corporate benefit property, and therefore by you being Smith, Jones, and Johnson, it automatically puts you as a ward of the state so they can impose upon you that license in the first place. Then they adhere that to insurance contracts and a whole bunch of other contracts which government was never given authority to institute. And this is how they enslave you.
And then we pay every 4 years.
Exactly. You're actually paying a foreigner. You're actually paying a foreign European who you keep calling white and claiming him to be the sovereign of the land, which he's actually a foreigner, who lists you as a foreigner and then lists you as corporation under his name because you've been using his name and you ain't gave it back to them, which makes you legally bound to them. We're talking legal now.
Yep. We pay.
And then you made a contract of moving or driving in this artificiality. And they constantly charge you or make up laws to actually extort from you on a consistent basis. And when you don't pay them, they take back their property, which you turn around and list it and register to them in the first place. This is what I suggest to you. Do your research on when driving came into being and the codes came into being. And you will see that those codes are relegated to commercial activity only. Again, under corporate activity and dealing with vehicles that have a gross weight of over roughly around 8,000 pounds or more, and does not even deal with common cars. You don't even have to call it conveyance. Private vehicles are not even lawfully included. You can beat them with their own law, fake as it is. But the deal of it is, by most people not being in their proper person, they can't fight it anyway because they can't speak in a courtroom. Remember, when you're dealing with any government agency, any government body or pseudo-government agency, they are all obligated to that Constitution. Your problem, when I say you, I'm talking about us plurally, we keep forgetting that. And we stop holding them to that. We start talking about their private law policy as the law. Stop talking about their policies as the law. What did you just declare? When you declared their policies as the law, you just waived the Constitution. And so when you start talking about their policies are not the law. Don't give it the credibility of law. Command the enforcement of the Constitution at all times with them. And when you say, well, you had to do this, well, guess what you just did? You do it under threat, duress, and coercion, and you put those initials on that certificate. And then when they come up with you trying to make demands on you, as a matter of fact, what you do is give them an IOU when you go to pay for it, too. Are we clear? See, the deal is that we have to start costing them energy when they start operating colorably, because they are colored. Moors have got to start costing them to mess with us. What we must learn is the methods to do it. And that's what we're teaching. But you need to understand the instruments you're dealing with in order to counter them. So anyway, so when you go into court, you never go into court and you say, the person must do this and this person. So, for the record, natural person may, I received this instrument in the mail, and it says there, Wiebel, Fetzer, Johnson, Fredericks, Oswaldorf guy. Sounds like, phonetically, it sounds like my name, but of course it's not. And for the record, this corporation is not me. So I came here anyway because I know certain Klan members have a tendency to attack people on the street. And so I came here under threat, duress, and coercion under special appearance to answer relative to this under special appearance, so no assumptions of jurisdiction are made without me contesting some fraudulent jurisdiction. Are you aware of that, Judge? So I want that for the record. And so if there's any future correspondence with me, can you see that your private corporation corrects this so they don't assume that I'm some corporation because I'm a natural person, for the record? And I have a nationality card. And whoever sent this, and I see his clerk, Bosnatzeldorf, Fredericks guy right here. Say they sent this specific performance, and I want to make a note for the county clerk that this is a fraudulent instrument, and I'll expect no more of these in the mail. And if they come, I'll expect them, and I'm saying it for the record, that's an attempt to extort from me or to intimidate me under color of law. And Judge, you have an obligation to see that doesn't take place in the future. Can you take care of that, please? And that's how you come with them. And no matter what they do, you come at them like that. So if they act, guess what? The ultra-virus statute no longer protects them. Then when his wife goes to the Mac machine and starts sticking stuff in, this Mac machine starts going, oh, excuse me. Then she go home and say, he's really messing up my stuff. I mean, what's going on, Fred? And Fred go down and see he's got this lien against them. They can't sell their house. They can't do stuff. Now they're upset because you ain't supposed to do that to them. They're supposed to do it to you. Now it ain't so comfortable to keep writing these Moore's tickets, is it? Meanwhile, while they held you up, you sent them a bill. So they get a bill to the law department. And you're commanding payment in lawful United States currency. Then you start issuing liquidations on them. Garnish their pay and all that kind of stuff. They will not be happy campers. I guarantee you that. But the deal is Moors have got to learn to do this on a massive scale. And so what we're going to concentrate on doing in the future is getting such information out that gives you processes. Gives you a knowledge of processes.
The fact is, the stats is cooked like the books. We more than pimps, prostitutes, dealers, and crooks. Take a look, same faces on the temple walls. They gave you mad sciences to build pyramids. Today they building more so you can perpetrate like you ball, buying out bars, foreign cars, auto Mars, frontin' like a star. But you are by birth, and that's the God's honest. Though ass just stardust, and the words of promise that you make when you come through like the comets. To live a good natural life in correspondence with the laws of the mother. Love your sister and your brother. Watch them close, but have love for the other. The friend of me turn enemies. Man, we suffer when we keep perpetuating the lies. You discover the truth. Yeah. Shout out to all my truth speakers and truth seekers.